Hey, hey, everybody. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. I am a little late starting tonight due to some technical difficulties, but I'm here. I am here. How's everybody doing tonight? Can you hear me tonight? Can you hear me? Good evening. Good evening. Hey, hey, Teresa. Hello. Thank you so much for your patience. Had some technical difficulties tonight. Some technical difficulties. People checking in. It's so good to see y'all tonight. We're going to get started in just a second. You know, I want to be able to play my music because I love it. But hello, Dr. Halstead. Hey, you can hear me pretty good. That's awesome. Y'all, I'm trying to nail down this lighting, and I just realized I have bad lighting in my home. So I haven't figured it out. I purchased a lamp and everything. Good evening. How is everybody doing? How is everybody? Hey, Curtis. It's so good to see you, dude. Well, I mean, I can't see you, but it's good to have you on the show. I'm gonna try to play my intro. We'll see what happens. You know, it's just giving me a hard time here. Y'all, one day I'm going to have a producer. I'm going to have a producer, and all this will be worked out, be just fine. Good evening, good evening. Okay. I guess I won't worry about it because this really is taking up time, so I won't worry about it. Before we get started, I don't know about anybody else, but today has been a day. So I just want to kind of take a moment to just kind of close our eyes. And if you're in a place or find a place where you can relax, where you can calm yourself from the busyness of the day, get yourself a pillow, get something nice to drink, tea, coffee, whatever, a glass of wine. I want you to take this moment to really kind of position yourself for tonight's discussion. We're going to have more of an intimate conversation and dialogue, but let's just kind of set the tone. So take a moment to close your eyes. Wherever you are, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose again and out through your mouth. And relax yourself. I want you to envision yourself in a peaceful place, whatever your peaceful place is. If it's water, if it's in the mountains, if it's just sitting on your bed, just take a moment to take a couple of deep breaths to become present with yourself. It's been a long day, but you made it. If it was a stressful day, it's okay. You're present now. So I want you to fill yourself up with positivity from the top of your head all the way down to the soles of your feet. If your happy place is thinking about God, do that. If it's a scripture, if it's a quote, I want you to tap into that tonight. All right? Awesome. Okay. Are y'all ready? I'm ready. Please let me know if you can still hear me. I'm ready. So let's get started. One of the things that kind of motivated me to starting this show and sharing my story is this notion of self-love and a journey that I've been on probably over the course of 10 years or so. And during this pandemic, during this time of quarantine, I really began to feel impressed to utilize my voice in a way to impact and to make a difference in the lives of others. And so here we are. And tonight I wanted to have an intimate conversation. I wanted to be your special guest, and I want you to be my special guest. An intimate conversation about reinventing yourself, what it is to reinvent yourself. If nothing else, in this quarantine, I've learned that it's an opportunity. It has become an opportunity to do some things differently. It's an opportunity while we are in the midst, and this is not to dismiss the tragedy, it's not to dismiss the hardship, it's not to dismiss anything that has brought despair. It is, however, to suggest that with that hardship, there's also presented an opportunity. With the despair, and is also presented with it new birth. And that's kind of what I want to talk about tonight, this opportunity to reinvent yourself. One of the things that I've been fortunate in my little lifetime, I say my little lifetime, is people say all the time, you have lived your life out loud, and you've been courageous in doing so. And what motivated you to do so? And you just, you moved here and you moved there, and you jumped into this career, and you did this, and you did that. And this, this one of the reasons why I love living my life like it's golden, because this is a mantra by which I personally live by. And so during this quarantine, it's an opportunity, right? It's this conundrum that has presented itself. You have tragedy or hardship, but you also have life, opportunity, joy, all of these things that's coexisting together. So what is reinvention? What does it mean to reinvent? And here's the thing. I want this to be interactive. So as I'm talking, if there's questions or if there's feedback that you want to give me, please use the chat to do that. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. Here's the deal. I don't claim to know everything. I never want to present that way. I just want to share some tips that I have garnered down through the years. All right. So use the chat to share your thoughts, to ask me questions, and kind of go from there. All right. So reinvent. Why did I even choose the word reinvent? Very intentional. But reinvent, if you don't know the definition of it, is to change something so much that it appears entirely new. It's to take up a very different way of living, or to take on a different job, to reinvent. So it's to take what you have already, what you've been created for and with, and to make it possibly something brand new, to change it, to modify it, to make it better, to reinvent. All right. And so we want to talk about that. I'm thinking about many of our desires, right? Perhaps you've had this desire to become the person you've always dreamed of, and you've not had the courage to do it. So when I speak of reinventing you or reinventing yourself, I'm referring to becoming the person you've always dreamt of. Or if you have never dreamt before, all right, I am talking to you as well. Becoming the person who then begins to dream, who gives themselves permission to visualize, who gives themselves permission to see and to experience things that they've never experienced before. Now, I think tonight what I'm talking about is kind of significant. I do. And so I should have started off by saying this. I want you to share, to like, to pass the word, encourage people to go to my YouTube page, to go to Facebook, because I believe this is something that we need tonight. All right. All right. So reinventing yourself, right? There's 4 areas that I want to talk about, but tonight I'm only going to cover two areas, because I'm going to do a part 2 on next week. All right. So the 4 areas that we're going to kind of dive into over this series is relationship with self and others, career, diet and physical components, and then of course spirituality. All right. And for the sake of this week we're going to dive into relationship with self and others, right? And then career. That's tonight. All right. So when it comes to relationship with self and others, here's one important question that I believe, that I've had to ask myself is what's important to me? Down through the years, that has been a question that was difficult for me to answer. What's important to me? Because a lot of what I did for self was influenced by so many external forces. I don't know that I really began to come into my own until maybe 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. I began to explore self. What is self? How do I identify with myself? What do I understand about myself? What do I like? What don't I like? What do I prefer? Who am I truly? Am I compromised? Do I really believe what I think I believe? Do I really feel like I think I feel? Do I have the ability to accept myself the way that I am, flaws and all, and navigate this life? Do I hold myself to a different standard or no standard at all? Do I find myself worthy? Do I find myself worthy? So these are questions as it pertains to self. When I think about self and I immediately think about identity. And one of the things or the lessons that I teach when I'm conducting groups with my clients is this notion of identity and understanding the various selves, the variety of selves that we have, right? Not just identifying solely with our physical self or identifying solely with our emotional self or our spiritual self or our sexual self or our financial self, but really beginning to embrace all of ourselves. And I think about a pizza. And I think about how a pizza is like sliced up in, small, medium, large. You have all these pieces, pieces of the pizza. But each piece of the pizza is significant. If you remove any of the pieces of the pizza, then it's not a whole pizza in its entirety. All right. It becomes compromised, right? So when we try to remove pieces of ourselves or fail to acknowledge pieces of ourselves or are even unaware of pieces of ourselves, then we're really not experiencing the totality of who we are. And then we can't show up authentically to the world, in our relationships, first with self and then with others. Does that kind of make sense? Give me some comments. It's kind of weird when you're talking to yourself. Is that making sense so far? So do you, I think the fundamental question that I had to ask myself was, do I really truly love myself? Have I learned to accept myself? Who am I? Who am I? What am I made out of? What is my historical context, right? What is my present context, right? I'm a single woman, okay? But do I solely identify with my singlehood? No, not at all. Just because I'm single doesn't mean that I can't offer anything to married people. No, it doesn't mean that at all. Vice versa, right? So learning to embrace ourselves. What are some of the things that kind of got in my way of embracing myself? First of all, one of the things that got in my way was fear. Fear. afraid. I mean, I used to be really paralyzed by my fear. And my father used to, he had an acronym for fear. He used to say that fear was false evidence appearing real. And as I got older, I learned through a course of experience and study how to challenge my fear, how to challenge the false evidence that appeared real, how to challenge that through, right? Through asking myself clarifying questions, through asking myself and looking at evidence. Did I have evidence to truly support my fear? Many of us don't have evidence to support our fear. What many of us have is a thought and an assumption that drives our fear, right? It feeds our fear. In psychology, that's called a cognitive distortion. It's a distorted way of thinking about something that you have no idea. Not all the time, right? Now, there's some things that you maybe have experienced, and based on previous experience, then there's fear around, will that happen again? Yes, that happens, right? But I'm talking generally speaking, our fear is very much so attached to faulty thinking. We don't challenge the evidence. We don't challenge these years of being told that things that we tell ourselves and things that maybe have come from outside people. Okay, so if I am afraid of, if I've always envisioned, one of the things that I always envisioned growing up was I saw myself as a performer. All right. When I was a kid, I used to I used to sing, I wanted to act, I wanted to dance, I wanted to preach. I wanted to do everything. I saw myself doing all of this stuff, right? I really, really did. And as I became an adult, it became a little challenging initially for me to walk out these things that I envisioned because of the way that I viewed myself. For many years, I would say that I felt rejected, that there was a sense of rejection. And for years, rejection would drive my interactions. So I would push people away, push opportunities away, push moments of growth away. Times when I could have taken a risk that I wouldn't take a risk because I felt rejected. And so I told myself I wasn't worthy. No one liked me. I couldn't handle it. I told myself all of these thoughts. And as a result, I didn't move. I wouldn't step out. Okay. I was paralyzed by this false evidence that appeared real that I didn't challenge. Does that kind of make sense? I want to get some feedback. Yes. Someone says, love yourselves. Yes, love all of yourselves, all of them. Any thoughts, anything you want to, any questions? This feels real good to me. Is this good to y'all? Is this helping? Is this making sense? So during this quarantine, we're not completely quarantined like we were before, sheltering in place before. We're reintegrating back into communities, most places. But there's still an opportunity while we're in this very isolated place, right? The still place, to explore some of the stuff that I'm talking about and to reinvent ourselves, right? There's a question here. How did you overcome your thoughts? Okay, how did I overcome my thoughts? You may not believe this, but There's a scripture that comes to mind that said faith comes by hearing. And there's something about hearing ourselves speak. Words have life. And when we're able to say out of our mouths through affirmations, or it may be quotes, or it could be scriptures. And when you say to yourself, I am an overcomer, and you said again, I am an overcomer, I am an overcomer, or I am beautiful, or I can do it, I will make it. And you look yourself in the mirror and you're constantly saying these things over and over again. One of the ways I overcame my thoughts was through acknowledgement with my words, verbalizing it, immediately recognizing a faulty thought and verbalizing it was one of the ways that I overcame my thoughts. And I would say it out loud, because faulty thoughts, you know where they get the power over us? They get the power over us because we're internalizing it and we don't speak it out. It's just like when you have a vision or something of that nature, the more you keep it in your thought, or things to do, a to-do list, and you keep it in your mind, it's like it's almost like it's like cluttering, and it's like, you know, it's there and you don't have any peace until you get it out with your words. That confusion or those bad thoughts or those unhealthy thoughts are coming until you say something out of your mouth, until you verbalize it. And you may start off by writing it out and then saying it. Writing it out and saying it, and being repetitive about it. Repeat it over and over again. One of the things that I encourage my clients to do is with my kids, my teenagers, and my babies, even my babies. I have parents and I have them practice self-affirming statements. Why so young? Because it's the formative years that you can help mold and shape thoughts. One of the reasons it's so challenging for us as adults is because we have years of these thought processes. We have years of these perspectives and assumptions, and we have experiences that have reinforced those thoughts. So in many cases, we're jaded. Children aren't jaded. Most of them aren't jaded. You can get them when they're young and teach them how to think positive thoughts about themselves. You'll be surprised what happens and how confidence then manifests itself when they get older, and then they're courageous and willing and available to do anything. Does that answer one of your questions? You challenge those thoughts too. You challenge them by looking at the evidence. You ask yourself questions like, if it's a negative thought about your ability to lose weight, you ask yourself, is there evidence that I've ever worked towards a goal and wasn't successful? What's the answer to that question? If the question is, yes, you tend to succeed, then what's the likelihood of you succeeding at losing weight? That doesn't mean you're not going to put in hard work, right? But you're challenging, right, the thoughts, and you're challenging the reality of these assumptions. Does it have weight? Does it have validity? Does that kind of make sense? It's another question here. Ways to challenge self-reinforced lies. Okay, so is it Chris, did I answer your question? Because it sounds like you and Teresa's question was similar. Yes? Let me know. Another way, I had a client where a baby who was dealing with depression and suicidal thoughts, and we did this activity that was around her saying positive things about herself. And what I did was, it was very difficult initially for her to verbalize it, to say it out of her mouth, because she had experienced a lot of trauma. So it's hard for her to even say it out of her mouth. But after her hearing me say it over and over again to her in the session, she began to repeat it back, and we made a rap out of it. We literally turned it into a rap. Now, here's the beauty of words, right? And retraining your thoughts. Have you ever had a song that you did not like, that you could never get out of your mind? You're always thinking about it. There's been several songs because the words of the song come to you, and like, oh my God, can you not? Songs and music can be used in the same way. This is one of the reasons I wanted to get into therapeutic interventions and therapy, because I can take my creative stuff and incorporate it in my work. We turned these affirmations into a rap. And next thing I know, baby girl had learned all of the affirmations. I was beatboxing with her. She was dancing. And here we were. I was teaching her how to affirm and how to say positive things about herself, despite what her experience had been at a tender age. Now, mom says she does it on her own. She gets up in the mirror. She gets up every morning, goes to the mirror, and says her little affirmations. And it's the song for her. She'll never forget it. You can do that with your own affirmations. You can make it a song, make it poetry. Be creative with it so that you can retain it, so that it becomes second nature. Does that kind of make sense? Let me know if I'm making sense. I'm getting comments like they're coming in slower than I want them to. Let me know. Let me hear somebody, or put a message in the chat box to let me know that this is making sense. You're getting it. Y'all getting it? Yes? Yes, no, maybe? Are y'all liking and sharing this? Yes, make perfect sense. Anybody else? Y'all getting this? Any questions? Any more questions before I move on to the next piece? You know, I really think that, man, we're inundated with so much that there's pressure, right, to try to be something that we're not. There's filters on our cell phones. There's all of these ways to try to, make yourself perfect and presentable and this and that. So we struggle with really accepting who we are just the way that we are, which is one of the huge blockage to these thoughts and the fear that we manifest in our lives, because we're trying to obtain this perfection, and we want, while we're trying to be perfect, we're doing nothing, and we're not being our authentic selves. Is this making sense? I hope so. Yes. Do I have people with me? I can't tell if if people are with me. Yes, making sense. Yes. Okay. All right. I want to move on if there's no other questions. Okay. One of the other things I was during my graduate program, we had to read a ton of books, but this one book that really, really caught my attention and really, really has stuck with me to this day is Dr. Halstead. Am I really doing a good job? She's the marker for me. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. One of the books that has been impactful in my life and that I encourage others to read is The 4 Agreements, as it pertains to accepting and loving self. These are the 4 agreements. I'm just going to read them to you. The first agreement is be impeccable with your word. All right. So, well, I'll read them first and then go back through them again. So be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. Third thing is don't make assumption. Third agreement. And the fourth agreement is always do your best. So that's the first one is be impeccable with your word. The second one is don't take anything personally. Third is don't make assumptions. And then the fourth one is always do your best. So being impeccable with your word does not mean perfection. It just means having integrity and following through on what you say. All right. A lot of coming into and tapping into our authentic self is being able to really, really look at what we say, how we say it, and asking ourselves, can people depend on me? Am I integral with my words? Are my words, do I understand the power of my words and what I say and my commitment? All right. Don't take things so personal, personally. That's huge. Part of my journey has been living lightly, living lightly. My hashtag is to live out love. Part of me learning to live out love is not taking myself so serious. I laugh now more than I ever have in my childhood. As a child, I was depressed a lot. I really was as a child. I am nothing like I was as a child. I laugh more and have more of a good time now than I ever have in my life. But I don't take myself serious. I own when I'm goofy, acting goofy, when I've made mistakes, I own it, and I'm okay with that. Lighten up. Some of us take life like so serious that we don't know how to embrace having fun. Sometimes I give myself permission to color outside of the lines because I struggle with being a perfectionist. Just like tonight, I wanted to really, really play my introduction. You don't even know how much it was bothering me that I couldn't. And me thinking, oh my God, people are going to think X, Y, and Z, and I need to have it. It's not there. And I begin to reflect and say, no, this is a great teaching moment. Color outside the lines, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have it tonight. It doesn't mean that you're not professional. It means that you're accepting things the way that they are, all right? Learning how to accept them without all of these judgments, all right? All right. Don't make assumptions. I think that's a huge one. That's a huge one because many times we make assumptions based on what we know or what we've experienced. And our knowing is limited. Sometimes our experience is limited. Our exposure is limited. Don't make assumptions about people. Be open. That's the third agreement. The fourth one is always doing your best. And I think that kind of speaks for itself. Not comparing yourself to anybody else. That was a huge thing for me. I used to compare myself, I sing, and I used to always compare myself to people who I felt sang better than me. I have a sister that can sing, well, two sisters that can sing their face. And I would always say, oh, I don't sing like my sisters. And I still sometimes say that. I admit that I do. But one thing I've committed to when I became a performing artist was to do my best. To do my best. No, I can't sing like everybody else. No, I can't riff like Brandy. No. And I'll never be able to do that, but that's okay because I'm the best just Sarah that there could ever be. And I'm evolving each day. All right. So reinventing yourself is about evolving, about doing your best. All right. So that's the four agreements. Yes. Can you see that? Awesome. Any questions? All right. Awesome. If you have some or any comments, please put them in the chat section. All right. what are some of the ways, the keys to really, really reinventing yourself? So I like acronyms. Commit. Hey, Annette, what's up? Yes, commit to being your best. Um, I like acronyms. Keys to reinventing yourself. So I want you to say lean in. So repeat that after me. Lean in. And I'm going to give you the acronym of what it means. Lean in. Keys to reinventing yourself. Lean in. All right. L, learn to embrace and accept new thoughts and perspectives immediately now. Lean in. Learn to accept and embrace new thoughts and perspectives immediately now. Lean in. Learn to embrace and accept new thoughts and perspectives immediately now. Does that make sense? Keys to reinventing yourself. Lean in, and even metaphorically, right? When you're leaning into, you change your posture. You're leaning into, you're engaging versus disengaging. You're engaging, you're leaning into it. You're not resisting it. You're embracing it. You're throwing your whole self into it. You're leaning into it. Lean in. When you look at reinventing yourself, when you look at changing who you are, your relationship with yourself and your relationship with others, lean in. Now, while you're doing this, while you're doing this, you're gonna watch a couple of things happen. In this process, you're going to give yourself permission to change the rules of engagement. You're giving, by leaning in, you're giving yourself permission to change the rules of engagement. So that means the way that I engaged before and prior to my old self doesn't look the same. You have to approach me differently. So some of the things and some of the ways that people may have approached me in times past, not now, because I'm leaning in and I've changed the rules of engagement on my terms. All right. You're going to also find that in giving yourself permission to change the rules of engagement, that you will eliminate excuses. They'll fall off. They'll fall off. You're going to also discover new passions and new desires as you're leaning in, right? You're going to discover, man, I didn't realize I like sushi. I never would even thought to try it. I never would have thought. One of the things that I experienced as a performing artist was I traveled to 44 states. Now, I've been outside the country, but I've traveled statewide. I've been to 44 states. That's huge, all through performing. Amazing. I love that I've had that experience, but I leaned into what was happening in my life, into reinventing my life and reinventing myself. Okay, so I'm discovering passions and desires. The other thing, as I'm leaning in, is that I'll stop seeking approval from the vampires, the bloodsuckers. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm not seeking the opinions of those who have no significance in my life. And I'm not afraid to identify significant people in my life. I'm not afraid to use the word no. I'm not afraid to set healthy boundaries. I'm not afraid to walk away and let go when I need to. I'm not afraid to start again and find my village. I'm not afraid. Because when I lean in, I'm also embracing this courage to say, hey, I thought that worked for me, but it really doesn't work for me. All right? Does that make sense? Are y'all getting, are y'all getting this? I'm real like excited. I was like a little weary when I started, but I feel real good. And I'm getting real good. I'm feeling really good. Any questions? Any comments? Any thoughts? Are y'all getting any like insights, new insights being gained from this? Any insights? Are y'all liking and sharing and passing a word? You know, one of the things that I've learned in reinventing myself is just, embracing my voice and not being ashamed of my voice. I'm not ashamed. I'm not ashamed of my experience either. I've learned how to embrace my failure because my failure has been a part of that reinvention as well. I'm not afraid to fail because failure works for me and it helps my success. How y'all feeling? How y'all feeling? Anybody have anything that they want to say in the chat? Are y'all enjoying this? Tell me, give me your thoughts. I really want to know. I really do want to know. All right. So, so your relationship with yourself and others and your career. One of the things, a piece of research, or article that I read, oh man, it was maybe a couple of years ago. It talked about, it says, talk about how we can be afraid to succeed. I know we had a conversation setting, but okay. I ran across an article some time ago that says that the average adult within a lifetime will have an opportunity to pursue 3 to 4 different careers. I don't know if you know the story behind Colonel Sanders and Morgan Freeman's of the world, who started, and Ronald Reagan, who started 2 and 3 and 2 and 3 careers later on in life. I think Colonel Sanders was 80 years old when he started KFC. 80. Talk about reinventing. As long as you have breath, you have opportunity. If you believe, if you can visualize what it is that you dreamt of, if you can visualize, if you can get it in your conscious self, it really can come to pass, and nothing shall be impossible to those who believe. Nothing. If you are willing, you can start again. People have talked about me, and I don't care anymore. People have seen me as a media. I worked in media and radio, worked in mortgages. I was performing for about 13 years. Now I'm a mental health therapist. And guess what? I have absolutely no regrets about my journey. And there's no embarrassment, right? If I have a lifetime to pursue a few different things as far as my career is concerned, why not? Why not? Take some assessments, do some career assessments, because as we evolve, our desires, what we like, our interests, it shifts. And that's okay. To give ourselves permission. Once again, we're leaning in. Lean in. Here's a question. Talk about how we can be afraid to succeed. Okay. So typically what my experience has been when there's been any fear around success is actually self-sabotage. That because we know that we will be successful, yet because there's certain measures of success, right? That maybe we have not obtained per se, but generally speaking, if we're a person who knows how to work hard, there's some things that I think sometimes we think is too big for us, right? Too big. And maybe perhaps we think that if we obtain that place, that maybe we won't be as humble. We'll be successful, but maybe we think we'll be an ugly person. Or we won't have many friends or many relationships. My question to you is, why would you punish yourself and your legacy by not pursuing the dream, by not pursuing the vision? One of the other things I've learned in reinventing myself, there are other, lives connected to this decision, people that I was supposed to impact. This moment right now, this moment right now has allowed me to impact other people because I've decided to once again reinvent myself. Michelle Obama has a book, Becoming. Very powerful book, because she talks about, even as the first lady and being a lawyer and being a daughter and a wife, how she's yet becoming. And she was very clear after she left the White House. She didn't know who she was becoming now, but she knew that she was evolving into something else. So whenever we put these like labels on ourselves, or we put these barriers on our potential, or we say to ourselves, no, I can't, that may be too much, here I am making another change again. When we limit ourselves, we shut off ourselves from opportunities. And that also shuts out people, and it punishes the people that are assigned to our lives. We have a unique voice. I believe that there's a clarion call that each of us have that nobody else can step into. There will never be another Jacera Glover. There may be some imitations, but not another original, designer original. You are your own designer original, and nobody can beat you at being you. Nobody. So why not embrace all of yourselves, embrace who you are, embrace what is in front of you, your hardship, embrace all of it and lean in. Why not? Is this making sense? We have a few more minutes. So interesting. I did not think that I was going to be able to talk a whole hour. I thought that I would stop in 30 minutes, but it's been almost an hour. This time is going really fast. Teresa, did I answer your question? Any other questions or insight that's being gained from tonight? Is this really helpful? Is this beneficial, y'all? There's something that we all can be working on during this time. Chris, are you still here? I'm so happy to see Chris here tonight. So honored. It's making sense? All right. Okay. I'm not seeing any more thoughts or comments. Let me make sure I have covered everything I wanted to. Oh, here's another nugget, something that has gone with me as I reinvent myself. Research, read, and rethink. Research, read, and rethink. Um, Part of the rethinking, I talked about the cognitive distortions, is deconstructing those thoughts that have been a hindrance. And you can do that through research, through reading. I talked about through self-affirming statements, through changing your relationships, making adjustments. It's okay to say, you know what, I need to change that affiliation. This is no longer serving me. It's okay to check in with yourself and ask yourself, is this serving me? And is it serving me well? Is it causing me grief? What's happening? All right. So part of reinventing yourself, once again, as you lean in, you'll find that you'll find yourself researching, reading more, rethinking, changing your perspective. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. You all have been amazing tonight. Please, I thank you for your support. I thank you for bearing with me as I'm navigating through this process and this journey, as I'm reinventing myself by utilizing this platform to make a difference, to share my own experience. Like, share, subscribe. Thank you for the people who have subscribed to my YouTube page. I was able to reach my goal. I have 24 subscribers. I'm doing small increments. So if this week I can reach 30, that will be great. I just want to make a difference. I just want to use my story to help someone else. I just want to use this platform to connect audience members to relationships that I have, experiences that I've garnered down through the years. All right. So thank you for your support. Hashtag to live out love. Hashtag weekly dose of Lady J for the intellectual. This is the name of the book. Yes. The name of the book is The Four Agreements. It's called The Wisdom Book by Don Miguel Ruiz. I think I'm saying that's incorrect. Okay. The Four Agreements. You can get this on Amazon. It's about $4 or $5, I think. I can't remember how much. I think it was like $4 or $5. Okay. Next week, I'm going to talk about the physical component, diet, physical component, exercise, that piece, and spirituality. It's going to be very interesting when we talk about reinventing ourselves from a physical perspective and then from a spiritual perspective, right? Pass the word. Y'all have a wonderful, wonderful night. I love you all so much. Even if I don't know you, I have love in my heart for you, and I'm grateful. Hey, y'all, take this opportunity, right, to reinvent yourself, to lean in, to learn to embrace and accept new thoughts and perspectives immediately now. Y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.